You have to, everything's public. Just remember when you're talking, it picks up. Y'all talking. So if you gotta move your head away.
Who is that?
That's Ms. Lee, Mrs. Lee.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. I was trying to make her out.
Okay.
I think we need to.
How are you today?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Great, great.
Let me get the mission.
Are you ready, Mr. Redmond?
Tell him I'm ready. I'm just pulling up the mission right now.
Yes, we're ready. He has the mission pulled up. We're ready to start.
It's pulled up. All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All right. We call this a work session meeting to order at 5:07 p.m. Ask at this time if we would all share together our mission. Mr. Redmond is going to pull it up for us very quickly. Let us all read our mission statement together. The mission of Welcome City School District is to create and maintain a highly effective
educational system in which every student receives the highest quality education.
School employees
and
and parents
to
prepare students to become caring,
competent,
and responsible citizens who value education
as a lifelong process.
Thank you so very, very much. I'll ask if Mr. Redmond would pull our agenda back up for the meeting. And I would ask board members to just look at our agenda tonight. Of course, this is our work session for our budget tonight. That is our agenda item and adjournment. Is everyone satisfied with that? If so, we will entertain a motion to approve our agenda and discussion item for tonight.
I make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight, so it's read. Second.
Thank you so much. Motion has been moved and properly seconded by Ms. Jenkins and Mrs. Harrison, respectfully, that we approve our work session agenda for tonight. You've heard the motion that has been stated. Is there any further discussion or unreadiness? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion, would you let it be known by your voice vote? O.D. Sykes, aye. Ms. Hale? Ms. Kay Robinson?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mrs. Jenkins?
Aye.
Ms. Harrison?
Yes.
Ms. Hale?
Aye.
All right. And Mrs. Bird Robinson? All right. Let the record reflect unanimous approval of our work session agenda tonight by the 6 board members that are present. All right. At this time, we will go into our budget discussion for tonight. And Mrs. Campbell, Dr. Myrick, Mrs. Campbell, whoever is prepared to begin tonight. And if you would just let us know which item we're going to start with first.
Okay,
Reverend Sykes, before we begin, can I?
Oh, yes, yes. I forgot.
No, you're perfectly fine. And this is really for the board as a whole. When I originally talked to Dr. Myrick, there was going to be personnel on tonight's agenda, and that was part of the reason that I am joining tonight. Now that you're just doing a budget work session, I inquired earlier with the chair about whether you actually need me for this meeting now. I historically wouldn't kind of cover a work session on budget. I am happy to, it's on my calendar. I'm happy to be here, but if you don't need me, then I'm not sure that you need to pay me to sit here.
Right.
So I just wanted to run that by the group, and if you want me to stay, again, I'm happy to. I've had it blocked off for the week and planning to be here, but just wanted to at least give you that option.
Sure. Board, how do you feel with the statement that Attorney Malone has made? I told him I wasn't going to ask him not to come because he, we do compensate him to attend our meetings. But to his point, the only thing we are discussing is the budget tonight. And this is a work session, and we do not have any action that we will be taking tonight. This is a work session. Are you all fine with Attorney Malone excusing himself, or do you want him to remain? Board, what is your pleasure?
I'm fine with him excusing himself. Appreciate it, Mr. Long.
Thank you.
All right. Don't get off yet.
I know, I'm waiting. That's
board
just one
member.
person. I know.
Reverend Sykes,
Yes, sir.
I'm going to step away from this. I got something else I got to attend to, but the
Yes, sir.
computer is set up in separate. So if something come up, I'm not going to be at, don't call me, in other words, for anything.
Okay.
I won't be here.
All right.
Okay, then. I'll be back in,
Okay, I got you. Mrs. Harrison, Mrs. Jenkins, how do you all feel in the boardroom?
Okay, yes, it's fine with me if he wants to excuse himself.
Okay. Ms. Jenkins,
Say that again now.
I said, are you fine with Attorney Malone excusing himself tonight? We're not taking any action, and he said that he can stay, but
Yeah,
he doesn't have to stay.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. Mrs. Bird Robinson, are you on? Okay, Ms. Hale and Ms. Katie Robinson, how do you all feel tonight?
I'm fine with him excusing himself.
Okay, was that both of you?
I'm fine.
All right, okay. So Attorney Malone, it seems that the consent of the board is if you feel like you need to excuse yourself, you can have a break tonight.
Well, I will gladly take the break, and I will see you guys in a couple of weeks at the regular meeting.
All right, thank you, sir. We
If
appreciate
something
it.
comes up and you need me, just call me on my cell, but I think you'll be fine.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you all.
We appreciate it.
All right now.
All right, have a good one.
All right, you too now.
Okay. All right. All right, we have that cleared. All right, so we'll begin our work session tonight, and I go back to my original statement, Mrs. Campbell or Dr. Myrick or Mrs. Campbell, whoever wishes to start our conversation.
all right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for tonight coming together for this work session. Before we get started, I do want to introduce Ms. Karen Dameron. If you can take the screen down, Mr. Redmond. Ms. Dameron is interim director for human resources, and of course, we're not all in the same place tonight, but I want you to know the face that you see on the screen is Ms. Dameron. I'd just like to welcome her.
Good evening, Mrs. Dameron. Good to put a name and a face together.
Thank you so very much. I think I sent you all an email, but then I realized I was not in the board list yet. So
Yes,
you may or may not have gotten my email, but I do want to thank you for your approval to come and work in Weldon City Schools. I'm excited about the work. I've already met with some good people. So things are going along with my plan of work that Dr. Myrick has provided for me, some things he wanted me to begin to address. So please feel free to call me if I can be of any service to any of you on the board.
thank you so much, Mrs. Dameron.
Thank you. I figured that the board would like to put a name with a face. And so at this time, Mr. Chair, if I may, I would like to turn the meeting over to Ms. Campbell, and she will walk us through the rest of our time together.
Okay, good evening again to everyone, Mr. Chair, Superintendent Myrick, and to all the board members and guests here tonight. Mr. Chair, before we get started with the actual budget, I have been requested by a board member to share how the restart process worked in our district. And that is what the additional information that you received in your package with the budget. I'm using last year's, and I may have to take my mask down just a little bit. I am using last year's restart allocation that we received in December of 2020. And if you look at that and you look down, look at the third column, which says PRC, and you go to PRC number 30037, that is called restart. And the state was requiring for us last year to put $3,648,460 into the restart budget for our 3 schools that is in restart, and that is Weldon Elementary, Weldon High, and Weldon Middle School. So that is the first step, finding out what is the allocation for the restart schools. So the second step that we have to do is figure out where we're going to take that money from to allocate to the schools. The first thing we look at PRCs that would give us, as my daddy used to say, give you the biggest bang for the buck. And that is the very first line, which is our classroom teachers, PRC 001. And if you look at that line, you will see a negative up under positions. We took 37.23 teaching positions, and that dollar amount equated to $1,982.97. So what we have to do is it took the 37.23 teaching positions that we moved, converted to a dollar amount of $1,984,917. Right, $1,984,917. So that was the first step to converting to the restart. So we look at all positions like that, and we have to take in consideration if we were not a restart school and all our schools were traditional schools, regardless of how much a teacher made, as long as I do not go over the 37 positions in teachers, we're good. But when you take those positions and you convert it to dollars, that's when you start being careful about where you're moving your teachers. Because when you convert to a dollar amount, you get very cautious, because you have to take their salary, the Social Security, retirement, and hospitalization from that dollar amount.
Okay.
Okay, so that's with the teacher position. So the next step we just go through the entire budget to see first, where can I get the biggest conversion from changing from either the months of employment or changing from positions. So as you look, everywhere that you see a negative up under the revision column, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, column number 8, where you see a negative, those are dollar amounts was converted to the restart budget.
Okay,
Okay,
got it.
so that is the process that we use when we are transferring money from one PRC into PRC 037 to meet the requirement that the state set for us to cover the 3 schools that is in restart.
But can I ask a question? Reverend Sykes, can I ask a question?
Yes, go right ahead, Mrs. Jenkins.
Ms. Campbell, well, with this restart, can you tell how many teachers that we have on restart? I mean, with 3 schools?
As of this year, if my record serves me correctly, we don't have any teachers right now that is on a restart salary. The teachers that were on restart salary last school year, they have chose to go into the resident, right, that program. So that means now that they're in that program, now they're being paid on their certifications.
But how, I mean, this money here, this part of money that we have, what you just explained, the restart. But if we don't have teachers on it, so where did that money go?
What it is, everybody, when you're in restart, that particular school is you're supposed to have enough money in that restart budget to cover their expenses of that school. The teacher salaries, the supplies and materials, anything that is needed for that particular school. And if you recall, last school year, we ran into some problems where we did not have enough money in the restart because of our ADM. Restart is based on your ADM, your average daily membership. So that's how they determine how much money goes to the schools. And they give us a total budget, and we have to make that dollar amount fit to cover the salaries. Salary is priority because you want to make sure everybody get paid. And after salaries, you look at any other expenses in that school, whether it be supplies and materials, workshop, or anything like that. Transportation is not included. Child nutrition is not included. You cannot transfer money out of the transportation budget to support restart. But you're supposed to have enough money to cover your staffing in your school. But if you got a school that have staffing that makes 50,000, high-paid teacher or veteran teachers, as I can call them, then that cuts into your budget with that dollar allotment. Versus if you were a traditional school, if regardless of what that teacher made, as long as if the state gives me 10 teaching positions for a school year, as an example, and I fill all 10 of those positions with teachers, regardless of what that teacher makes, as long as I don't go over 10 positions for this district, then I am okay. It doesn't matter how much money to make, but when you convert the money to dollars, that's where your concern comes into when you convert it to dollars. Because you have to add everything related to that one individual to that budget. So if you got a teacher to make, as an example, if a teacher made 50,000, their Social Security is 1,000, that's 51,000. Their retirement is 2,000, that's 53,000. If their insurance is 1,000, that's 54,000. And if they gave me a budget of $100,000 for restart, I take that 100,000 and balance that 57,000 or 58,000. That's not gonna leave me a whole lot of money left from that dollar allotment.
Ms. Campbell.
Ms. Kay Robinson, go right ahead.
Ms. Campbell, I think I understand everything you said thus far, and you said the million from last year, $984,917 was for last year. And since all the teachers have chosen a residential program to be a part of for this school year, does that mean that we won't be using that $1 million for salaries at this point for 21-22?
The $1 million, Ms. Kay Robinson, is where I reduce the teacher allotment to help support the allocation for Restart. So that negative amount moved into it moved from PRC 001 to PRC 037. So this year, the state has not told us what our per pupil allotment is as of yet because the final budget has not been approved. So it is my goal that I'm hoping that once the legislators approve a budget, they'll go ahead and send out to us after the first month ADM is reported, which is September the 8th. That is when they're going to calculate what our first month ADM is. And then also, once the state approves the final budget, they'll calculate what our per pupil expenditure should be for this current school year. And then that would tell me, they'll tell me how much money I need to move into Restart. So once we get the Restart allocation, so let's say for an example, they come back and tell me Restart, I need to move $200,000 into that budget. From there, I choose PRCs to move that money to cover that $2 million.
Okay, so what does the residential program have to do with the Restart? How does that affect that dollar amount of?
With the residential program, that just means, one, we have no teachers on a Restart salary that the board had approved the salary schedule for. Two, what it means is there is a possibility that there may be a teacher making more than what they were making last school year because they're in the residential program. And once DPI look at their license, they will give them years of experience. So you can have a case where if a teacher last year was on a Restart salary for $31,000, and then this year they're in the residential program and they've taught before or they got experience, they can actually give them a license that says they can make $45,000. So that would be an effect on the Restart budget because you went from $31,000 base, just the salary, to $45,000. So that can be an effect on the Restart budget.
So that 1 million may turn into 2.5 million or 3 million.
Well, the 1 million will be that amount determines on what the state says. The state makes that determination for reducing the amount because they set the salary as far as what the amount would be when you convert a teaching position into a dollar amount. The factor is going to be how much we have to move into Restart. Not what we move in from, but what we move to. What are we required to be? And the focuses need to be where the 3.4 million is. We just hope that doesn't go higher than what it is or per se.
All right, Ms. Campbell, I have 2 or 3 questions very quickly. First, what was the ADM that is referenced in this budget that when it was reallocated or the allotment as you are describing as far as Restart is concerned? What was the total ADM that this was based upon? I know it fluctuated a little bit at the beginning of the school year because we were looking to see what the final number was, but what did it end up being?
I don't have the final number.
The 10-day number.
The 10-day number last year was 630. But they based it on the 20-day number, not the 10-day number. And I don't have the 20-day number with me.
I would be interested to know how that compares. So if you could get that, that would be most helpful in looking at what we are doing as far as our restart budget for this year. But I want to know at that 20-day number if we had more or less students in comparison to what we had before us tonight.
Okay, I'll check with Ms. Robinson on that.
Excuse me?
Ms. Robinson has that number, but I have to get that from her tomorrow. Akila Robinson.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
All right.
You said Ms. Robinson, right?
You know, we have a whole lot of Robinsons in
our
district.
Yes. But I will get with her tomorrow and get that number.
Okay, all right.
And I can also check with DPI to find out what was the number that impacted this amount as well.
Okay, I really would be interested. I think the board needs to know that as a whole, so we'll know what we're looking at.
Okay.
My next question is, looking at the position that you said equated to this 1.9 million, almost $2 million, 37.23 positions. I heard you say that the teachers, or a lot of the teachers that were involved in these positions, as far as the 37.23, they chose to go to the residency program rather than having that restart salary. So,
no, not a lot of them. No, we had some teachers, not a lot of them. I said a lot of our teachers are veteran teachers.
Okay, I misunderstood you.
Right. A lot of our teachers are veteran teachers, whereas if we pay them out of state 001, it would be better versus being paid out of the restart budget, because restart is a dollar budget, dollar allotment.
So the 37.23 positions that you are referencing, that equates to that dollar amount of $1.9 million, almost $2 million. How many teachers actually remained in the restart versus the residency that affected this dollar amount? That impacted this dollar amount.
That dollar amount, what that dollar amount is, we end up not having any teachers being paid out of state 001 last school year. All our teachers from the elementary, middle school, and high school, with the exception of our CTE teachers and EC teachers, they were paid out of the restart budget, whether they was on the restart salary or whether they were regular certified teachers. Because when you move the money to restart, your staff has to come out of restart. So whether they're resident, and I have to get the number of teachers that we had on restart salary, because we had some that started out on restart salaries, then they got their license and it changed mid-year.
Okay.
So I can also get you that number of teachers that was on restart salary last school year.
Yeah, I think we need to know that as well, because I understand what you're saying. If they became certified, then they were no longer, I think I'm understanding you to say they were no longer compensated with their salary on the restart salary scale.
Correct.
Is that right?
That's correct. So if I was a teacher and I was making $31,000, I got my license, my certification, then once my license kicked in to be renewed, then my salary changes. So if they gave me an A05 on my license, which is 6 years of experience, they gave me an A05, they gave me 6 years of experience, my salary could have went to $38,000. So that means that
got it.
My pay had to be adjusted from the $31,000 to $38,000. And then going forward, I would make the $3,800, right?
Okay. Yeah, I think we need to know that, because we, and going forward for 21-22 school year, if we have more teachers, which I hope that we do have more teachers that, become licensed and fully certified, that's definitely going to impact the dollar amount that you just described here, even though the positions, we know that, but if their salary goes up, then that's going to impact that dollar amount versus the positions that you just said. So I think we need to know that, and how many teachers actually, receive their license as a result of that, because they were still paid out of Restart, but
Correct.
the dollar amount increased significantly.
That's correct. You're exactly right.
And I have another question very quickly. Our building administrators. Now, I'm looking at the amount here in the tune of $377,000. How does that equate? What actually happened to our building administrators that could possibly impact this number, what we were looking at in 2020?
It would impact the same way it would with teachers. And what I did with the building administrators, I moved everyone except for our early college principal. I left 12 months in there to cover his salary. And if you recall way back, we talked about we only got enough school building administration months of employment to cover the 4 principals and maybe 5 months of an assistant principal. So it will impact there as well, just like it would with the teachers, because with the school building administration, regardless of what their salary is, as long as I don't go over those months of employment, you're still protected. But when you move it to a dollar amount, then you got to play with those figures as well.
And that's my concern, because we are fully funded, as you just stated, for the principals. But when we start looking at the assistant principals, we only get that enough for 5 months of employment. So that means for the other assistant, for the rest of that assistant principal salary and the other assistant principals, that means that it's going to impact our local budget.
It means I'm in the past, if I'm not mistaken, I've moved one assistant principal into 69. And there have been a case where we had to cover one assistant principal, yes. At least one assistant principal. That's correct.
And I'm just going to go with the minimal amount of an assistant principal salary. I mean, that may impact our local budget. And I know you don't have the exact amount, and I'm not asking for it, but that may impact our local budget, $70,000.
It could be $70,000 plus based on what the assistant principal make and the number of months he's employed. He or she is employed, yes.
Right.
Yes. But if there is no more questions, like I said, I have been asked to share the process because how it worked as far as when I transfer money from one PRC to another to cover the Restart budget.
I had one more question, Ms. Campbell.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think you've answered it for me before, but I need to write it down.
Okay.
Write it down, it didn't happen. So tell me the pot of money that we're paying the CTE, the EC, and the RVEC teachers out of.
EC teachers comes out of state 32. They can come out of federal 60 as well.
Okay.
Repeat that again, Ms. Campbell, for me.
EC teachers can come out of state 032, or they can also come out of federal 060.
I don't see 060.
It will be on it's on the second page.
Okay, thank you.
Our CTE teachers, they come out of PRC 013.
Okay.
And
say that one more time.
013.
And that is for who now?
CTE teachers.
Thank you. Oh, You said 031.
013.
013, got it.
Our early college students, because we have to transfer all our state 001 positions into the Restart budget to balance that budget, we have to bill our early college teachers into our current expense budget. And I will share that information with you when we get to that budget and show you that.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Ms. Campbell,
Yes,
how are you doing this evening?
I'm good.
Good. I do have one question on one more question. In regards to the Restart teachers again. Going back to that, I just want to gain some clarity. Now, I know you said that currently they're 3,100. Is that correct?
No, if there are on a Restart salary, they're 31,000 a year. But currently, we do not have any on a Restart salary for the 21-22 school year.
Yeah, because all of them are in residences, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, but prior to that,
Right.
all of them were 3,100. Is that correct?
Depends on the years of experience. We, when a former superintendent was here, we created a Restart salary schedule. And I believe that started at 31,000 for zero for the first time being on Restart. And then we went from like 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. It was a range from there going forward.
Okay. Could you send me a copy of that so that I can look at that also? I mean,
Yeah.
I know it's been a while back, but I would like to see a copy of that as well.
And Ms. Campbell, it starts at 30,000. I've got it in front of me.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Demeridge. Ms. Demeridge told me for the first time being in a Restart, on a Restart salary schedule, it starts at 30,000. Then it goes to 31,000.
I like that too as well, Miss.
Okay.
I would just like to have a copy of it.
Please send it to the entire board. Make sure
Yes,
you have
sir.
the same information. So Ms. Campbell, I think I have one more question for you. Taking into consideration everything that has been shared tonight, your just gut feeling, I guess, do you feel like the Restart budget is going to be close to the 3.6 million that we are looking at? Could it possibly drop or could it possibly increase?
Based on years past, it can decrease because our ADM is decreasing.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Yes.
And that's why I asked, initially what the ADM was with
Right.
this budget and versus what we're looking at now. So, okay, all right.
That decrease, taking consideration all other state budgets, may decrease as well because of ADM.
Right. But
Like
I
you
guess
had.
what I understand that, but I guess what I'm really looking at is with a decreasing ADM, as you're pointing out. I'm just personally thinking about how much money or what the dollar amount our ADM decrease, but if we have to make some things up, I'm just
I understand.
just starting to think about it.
I've taken some of that in consideration as I was preparing the budget, as I shared with Dr. Merritt.
Okay. All right. Do we have
Ms.
any other
Campbell.
questions?
Ms. Campbell,
Yes,
one more question. I don't know if you have the answer to this or not, but how much longer do we have for the Restart for this?
I can take that, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind.
Oh, no, not at all. I remember it, but I want you to address it.
So once the school enters into Restart, it's a 5-year process. But if you recall, the last time that we had official data that was used was the 18-19 school year, because there was no testing done in the 19-20 school year. So with that added an additional year to schools that were in Restart.
Wow.
So, but now, because we did test last school year, 2021, we will have to see where schools that are in Restart will land now and to see how that's going to kind of flesh out because of some of the things, the waivers and so forth that were granted by the Department, U.S. Department of Education, and then most recently approved by our legislators to make those changes. So long story short, 5 years from when it started. In fact, Ms. Martin and I had a meeting this week with someone from the Restart office and had them to go through and explain to us exactly the process, how long the schools had to be in Restart and so forth. And they have since sent us copies of the applications that were done in the years that each school entered into Restart. I know that was more information than you asked for.
No, that was fine.
So technically, Dr. Myrick and board, if we're looking at when we entered, we really have 2 more physical years, but technically we have 3 more years because we missed a year of testing.
Yes, and if I'm not mistaken, and because I haven't had a chance to look at the start dates for all of them, I believe the middle school, the high school was the one who entered first. And then the elementary and middle schools were added. But when I spoke to the representative from Restart, the Restart office, in order to come out of Restart, even though with that 5-year period there, the school has to be making some gains. And based on what she explained to me yesterday, the elementary school and high school went backwards from where they were when they went into Restart, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Okay.
It's not news that we want to hear, but I mean, that's the reality of what we're dealing with.
Yes.
Any more questions?
One last request, Dr. Reverend Sykes. Dr.
Yes.
Myrick, I would like to request some information on the Restart program. It was prior to my being elected to this board, and I would like to read more about how Restart serves Weldon City Schools and what's the benefit.
Okay, would you like the copies of the applications that we received or just some general information from the department?
Both.
Oh, okay. I will get that together and send it out to the full board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Myrick. I was going to ask that you do that. I know we have it, but a refresher is always good to make sure everybody's on the same page. And board, let me just share this very, very quickly. When we entered Restart totally with all of our schools, with exception to RVEC, that was a major concern that was expressed, you know, the pros and the cons as far as being a Restart school, and had some benefits, but of course it had some, in my opinion, my personal opinion, some hindrances and some disadvantages at the same time, especially if we did not meet those how can I say it? If we didn't meet those growth spots to come out of Restart. And so that, not knowing, what our students would go through, I think that's one of the drawbacks with Restart, because if you don't stay on that pace, moving forward to hit those growth spurts, I say it in that respect, as far as testing is concerned, then you can't come out early. But, we'll see all of that. And it may even need to be that we have a conversation about that going forward, how that will look and, things of that nature. So it's a whole lot to take in when you're looking at Restart. I will say it that way.
And not to prolong the conversation, but one of the things that I've tasked Ms. Martin with is working with the principals and then looking at their applications to see if what was initially in the application, because if I'm correct, all 3 principals that we have in place now were not principals when the schools entered Restart. So
that is correct.
That's why I feel that it's important for us to kind of sit down and look at those applications again, because what we were told and what is the process with Restart is there are lots of flexibilities within Restart. So at any time, during the Restart process, if the schools are saying that something is not working, then they can change those things. But unfortunately, the way that it's funded is not one of those things that can change. So we can change some of the other flexibilities that are within that program. So we're going to take full advantage of the Restart program, and our goal is to make sure that we get that our schools get out of it, everything that's there for them. It has some great potential, but like I said, with our principals that we have in place now, they were not a part of that whole process of what it looks like.
And that was one of the concerns, especially those that's on the board now. That we were talking about board members change, but not only that, administrators change, and having that a protocol already established for the building administrators that are there now. And like you said, Dr. Myrick, all of that has completely changed. And I think it's worth us having a conversation again.
Absolutely.
All right.
Reverend Sykes, I had one more question for Ms. Campbell. It doesn't have to do with Restart, but I want to say it to her. So if she gets to it while she's reporting to us, she'll know that I want that information, if you don't mind.
Go right ahead, Ms. K. Robinson. Not at all. Don't mind at all.
Ms. Campbell, we received $76,261 in WIOA, the Turning Point Workforce Development Grant. And I need to know what part of that do we pay? How much do we pay? Do we match it? And what kind of budget comes out of it? How is it paid out? Whenever you get a chance and you get to it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. K. Robinson, I can tell you right now that is not in our budget because that is considered a grant. And that can be added to our budget until our final budget has been approved. So if it's okay, I can go ahead and answer that question now.
Yes.
If that's okay.
Yes,
Okay.
Please.
We do not have to pay anything towards that grant. The grant covers itself. It covers the salary of the person over the grant. It covers work study for students. They put in the grant supplies and materials. They put in grants incentives for the students that are part of the program. I think there are some travel included in there as well. The grant application is written every 2 years and submitted to WIOA, which is Upper Coastal Plain and Rocky Mount. And they have a board that actually approves those grants every year. A certain percent of the grant has to go towards something related to the children. And if I'm not mistaken, it's like 20% of the total budget has to be related to the children. I can't answer how the children are selected for the program, but I will get with Mr. Wadi at the high school to ask him to get that information to me.
Okay. Okay, so all we do like an in-kind of providing the office space, the classroom space, and okay, we don't pay benefits or anything, everything?
They do receive, no, we don't pay the benefits, the grant receipt pays the benefits. Okay. And every month once the grant has been included into our budget, I have to bill them for reimbursement.
Okay. So we do a monthly reimbursement? Yes, ma'am,
except for the beginning of the school year. If our budget is approved this month, I bill them for July and August, and then their turnaround is excellent. Their turnaround is really good as far as reimbursement.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Ms. Campbell, real quick, basically, you're saying that we upfront some money and then we're reimbursed.
Correct, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Campbell, and you said it was every 2 years or every year?
Every 2 years, they have to reapply for the grant. they have to do a full application every 2 years. And they approve a dollar amount every year. So the dollar amount can go up. Sometimes in the past, we've seen where the dollar amount had to go down and the individual salary had to be cut because it wasn't enough to cover the grant. And the district was not going to contribute to the grant.
Got it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Got it. Got it. Hello?
What
Y'all
happened?
still there?
Yeah, we still here.
Can you hear us, Reverend Sites?
I can now. The boardroom went out. I couldn't hear and couldn't see either. Okay, we good now.
Okay, we're gonna start with the capital outlay budget first.
All right.
And with the capital outlay, we are proposing to the board to have a budget of $438,000. Our county appropriation that the county has said that they're gonna give us this for the 21-22 school year is $247,850. We are projecting an interest from the bank account of $1,000. And we are looking at possible receiving $150,000 in sales and tax revenue based on what we received last school year. Don't want to over project there so that, and we don't receive it. So we want to kind of stay within the middle of what we received last school year. We do recognize that a lot of people are still ordering online. So we got to get them back in the stores and spend some money so we can get more sales tax money. We are requesting to use $39,150 to balance the budget from our fund and taking that from our fund balance allocation. Okay, Thomas, you can go to the next screen. This is the budget for the 21-22 school year. And if you recall, we were in conversation last month in reference to helmets for our football team. I spoke with the assistant county manager in Halifax, and they allowed me, and they said it was good practice that we can pay for our helmets out of our capital outlay fund because it is related to the children, and it is something that we can put into inventory. So that's why the very first line you see in the non-capitalized equipment of $30,000, the bulk of that is to cover the cost for the football helmets that has been ordered. That ran us on a little over $20,000. We are also looking at, we talked with our principals and we stressed the concern with the principals that, when people are coming to your school, they want to see the outside looking good. And the outside speaks for the inside. So if the outside of my house is not looking very presentable, nobody's gonna want to come inside the house. So we are looking at allocating each school some funds to do some beautifications on the outside of their building. With RVET, we know that the community college would take care of their beautifications, but we looked at he may want to buy more benches so that his kids can go outside and social distance a little bit more. So that's why his amount is a little bit less than what the other 3 schools are. And I'm not going to go through every line if that's okay, Reverend Sites. I'm just hitting some key points. You see purchase of vehicles up there, and you probably saying we thought we put that in our ESSA grant. Yes, we did. But if something comes up that we need additional vehicles, we have money allocated for that. If we do not use that money can be moved to another line item to cover some other expenses. We're waiting on our new band teacher to give us quotes on some band instruments that he's looking into and dire need of. So Dr. Merritt had me to share with the principals that have him to do the quotes. And then we'll sit down and look at and see what we can do for him. So we allocated some funds in there also within equipment and non-capitalized equipment, depending on how much the instruments costing us. So again, we're requesting to have a capital outlay budget for the 21-22 school year of $438,000.
Okay, Ms. Campbell got a few questions. Got a few questions. Can you
Okay?
hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, the boardroom went out again. On my end. It could be mine, I don't know. On the initial page where we were looking at the amounts, the county appropriations, how does that line up this school year versus what we had received last school year? What did we get in county appropriation?
Last year in county appropriation, we received last year we received $198,298. They gave us additional $50,000 in the Article 44. Where this year they gave us $200,000, and last year they only gave us $150,000.
Okay, so they increased for this school year.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And every school in the area got the same amount in that particular area.
Got it. Okay. Want to go and looking a few things. Computer software and supplies, $140,000. What does that entail? Because I know we spent in the tune of $30,000 this year, but it was in last school year. I mean, are they laptops for all of the students? I mean, can you explain a little bit what that entails?
I budgeted $150,000 on precaution. Last year, the $31,000, the bigger bulk of that was the board in June approved the renewal of our financial software. That's run us $27,000 a year. So the bulk of that $31,000 is that $27,000. But I budgeted on precautions. We don't know what may happen going forward with COVID going on, whether we have to buy some additional software. We have renewals on software on like the library, the Follett, where they do the checkout system with the books. So it's a variety of different softwares in the schools that we have to pay for as well.
Okay.
And we may never use all of the $140,000, but we err on precaution in an event something does come up.
Got it. And my last thing is, I heard you say that funds were allocated for beautification, to be inviting and to be welcoming. I have major concerns because I'm like this, we can beautify the outside all we want, but we have buildings and we have certain part of buildings that don't have air conditioning and don't have heat. And we need, it's all right that it looks good on the outside and welcoming. I totally agree with that. We need to do that. But when I welcome you in, as the gymnasium, use that as an example, it is severely hot. The cafeteria at elementary school, I mean, there are a whole lot of things. And if we're going to appropriate some fund balance that we have to make this $438,000, I would strongly encourage that we also appropriate some additional fund balance so we can make sure that we get the air conditioning and the heat fix in these areas where our student athletes participate and where our staff and all work in cafeteria and things of that nature, and even some classrooms. I don't remember the exact amount that we have in fund balance for capital outlay, but I thought it was a little better than $600,000 based on the last reporting that we got in our annual meeting. So if we're going to take fund balance appropriation to make sure that we make the 438,000, whether we need it or not, couldn't we also, I know we can, also, if, take fund balance to appropriate with great anticipation of getting classroom areas and our gymnasium with heat and air?
We have budget with the heat and air. I know for a fact, because Dr. Maurer and I talked about it again today, we have allocated funds in ESSER funds, PRC 171, to cover the HVC at the elementary school. Just last week, we purchased 3 portable air conditioners for the cafeteria to kind of help out until such time they can finalize the process with the HBCU. I believe they've gotten the go-ahead from Attorney Malone to go ahead with the one person that has submitted the actual quote or bid for that particular project. And we also was gonna follow up with Mrs. Austin when she returned to see if the gym was a part of that project. And if we can, I shared with Dr. Merritt that we can also look at with the gym, we can look at using lottery funds for the air conditioner for the gym as well. Because it probably would take more than what we have in our fund balance to cover those projects.
I told you what you're saying, but in as much as we are budgeting and we do have fund balance, and I totally get what you're saying. I would want us, as you just said, have something allocated just for caution, that we also put funds in our capital outlay from our fund balance to be allocated to get heating and air in the gymnasium. So if ESSER doesn't cover it, or if lottery funds doesn't cover it, we won't be stalled, stagnated, and held up another school year with no heat and air in the gym. So I would strongly, and not just the gymnasium, but we have some other spots that need some air conditioning as well, some classrooms, at different areas in our schools. That's all I'm saying. I understand the ESSER, I understand lottery funds, but we need to also appropriate some from our fund balance in our capital outlay to make sure we get it taken care of this year and not keep on putting it off. We're in a good position now.
Okay, what I can do, I can meet with Mrs. Devereaux and Mr. Turner to get him to working on some bids as far as the gymnasium is concerned. Even if we approve the budget, you say, okay, we always can go back and add to the budget to use additional fund balance to cover that cost. Because right now, we don't know how long it would take to get those bids in to do that. So, but I will get with both of them to get to work on that process, to get us some bids on the heating and air in the gymnasium and find out what the status is for the elementary school.
And I hear what you're saying, Ms. Campbell, but I'm gonna continue to press this claim. Simply because if we don't need to spend it, it can remain in fund balance, correct?
That is correct, yes. But I would need a dollar amount to put in there from him in order to do it. To put it in the budget. I mean, I can say.
I hear what you're saying. Let me get this out. Just like you put $140,000 for computer and software, you put that there on the side of caution just in case we need it. And we don't have a dollar amount of what things could potentially cost. So we can do the same thing with fund balance to make sure that we appropriate something with our gymnasium. It could be $150,000 that we put there. If we don't need it, we don't have to use it. It can remain in fund balance, but we will have released it because we don't know what the number is, just like we don't know what the number would be for software. We don't know what the number would be for beautification, but with the buildings, but we appropriated something to be able to do something. And I'm respectfully asking that we do the same thing with this to make sure we have heating and air as for the elementary school, the high school gym, and other areas is concerned. We need to do this. We've been putting this aside long enough. So I don't know exactly, like I said, I don't remember the exact amount, Ms. Campbell, and I don't know if you have it at your disposal right now of what our capital outlay fund balance is. But I strongly suggest that we do the same thing there. And if we don't need to spend the money, we don't have to spend it.
Okay. I made a note.
I know we would be. I know we should be good with 150,000 because we did have almost 700,000 in our capital outlay fund balance. So if we appropriate at least 150,000, doesn't mean we're gonna spend it, because as you said, ESSER could complete it, or the lottery funds could complete it. But we will have covered our bases to make sure that we can get heating and air in those spaces this school year.
So I can go in Robin sites where we got purchase of equipment, or I can put it up under building maintenance, and where I have an 001, I can put $200,000 there to help assist with the heating and air in the gym.
Yeah, well, I'm saying heating and air, period. So if it's the gym, yeah. I think
I'll put $200,000 there, so that means we will be using an additional $200,000 in the fund balance.
Of the capital outlay, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So I will make those corrections in the budget.
Okay. And again, if we don't need it, if ESSER takes care of it, we're good. If lottery funds take care of it, we're good. But we have appropriated something just in case.
Okay. I got it noted, and I'll make those corrections before I put the final budget together.
Okay, so that's gonna change that number to 638,000 then. I'm just making mental note.
That's correct. And the fund balance appropriation would be $239,000.
Right. All right. Thank you so much for that, Ms. Campbell.
You're welcome.
And I'll get with you. I forgot what you said. You're gonna make another line item.
I'm gonna put it under, you should see a line where you got the $100,000 for building maintenance building. You see $100,000 there?
Yes.
The next line where there's nothing there, I'm gonna put the $200,000 there.
Got it. Okay. So that's going to be line item, this long number you have, 9102-800-325-000-001.
That is correct.
Got it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Are there any more questions in reference to, I'm sorry, Roman Sykes, I took over, I'm sorry.
No, I was getting ready to ask the same thing. If there's any more questions with capital outlay.
I'm sorry.
I do have one additional question, just one.
Okay.
Where you said the non-capitalized equipment, ordinarily, we don't put the football helmets and things of that nature there.
Correct.
And I'm only raising this tonight, and I'm fine with it being there. I have no problem with that if we can put it there. But I guess my only concern is that enough when we're talking about the high school and the middle school as far as sports are concerned? Just hearing the number that our athletic director brought us about helmets alone, I'm just asking, is that enough?
This is only for the helmets. Other things is put into the current expense budget. Because of the cost of the helmet, I got approval from the county that I could put it in there, and I did follow up with an email after the phone conversation. So if something comes out later, I talked to the assistant county manager, and she said that I could. So this is only for the helmets that we have processed, yes. And this is for the high school and the middle school. They only needed 5, the middle school.
Okay. And this 30,000, it's enough, it's a little cushion in there just in case something may come up where they had to order a few more before the year is out, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thomas, we're gonna move to the local budget next.
And Reverend Sykes, some of the board members are having trouble hearing you. I don't know if it's their computer. We can hear you fine here. So you just want to try to speak up a little bit for them.
I'm talking very, very loud, and I have my volume turned all the way up. Can y'all hear me better now?
Yes.
They said yes.
Y'all hear me better? Okay, all right.
No, she could just keep talking.
Okay, we're gonna,
Any questions concerning the capital outlay budget?
I didn't hear what you said, Reverend Sykes.
Any questions concerning capital outlay budget? Say again?
What are you asking? We can't even understand. Say it again.
I think he asked, well, are there any more questions about that?
Right.
No, not in the boardroom, there's no more questions.
Anybody online?
No.
Ms. K. Robinson, Ms. Hale?
No, I'm fine.
I'm fine, Reverend Sykes.
All right. I think
I think he's got an internet issue. That's him. I think he just.
hello.
Can you tell him that it looks like he got internet issues?
Mr. Redmond said, looks like you're having internet issues, Reverend Sykes.
All right, hold 1 second for me. Hold 1 second. What about now? Is that better?
It's a little bit.
You're still lagging.
Yeah, it's lagging a little bit.
I don't know why. I see you all perfect.
Ain't us. Plug in.
Can y'all see me? Can you hear me?
No, that's better.
He said that's a little bit better.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Ms. Campbell. We ready for the next.
Okay, we're gonna go to the local budget fund 8. We're requesting this budget to be $548,035. You can see the list of the revenues that we have, anticipating coming in. They're within range as far as what we received last school year. We're asking to use $148,614.60 to balance this budget. You can go to the next page, Thomas. Included in this budget is PRC 001 classroom teachers, PRC 002 central office administration, PRC 003 non-instructional support, and PRC 009 non-contributory benefits, which equates to $548,035.60. The first budget you see is PRC 001. This budget is to cover any new beginning teachers that comes in that has years of experience, and the state will not pay for them for new teacher orientation. And that is all that's in that particular budget. And as new teachers come in, they still have to do an orientation or a day or two. So if they do have experience, state will not cover the new teacher orientation. The next budget is PRC 003. This is our central office administration. That total budget is $315,392.79. Within that budget, we have our public relations officer with 21% of their salary. We have our EC director, our maintenance supervisor, the finance officers, and the superintendent supplemental pay. Next budget is PRC 003, non-instructional support personnel. This is covering 3 administrative assistant salaries. Okay. And the next one is PRC 009, is the non-contributory benefit. This is for staff members that is in the Fund 8 budget that is eligible for longevity. And again, we're requesting this budget to be $548,035.60. Are there any questions?
Ms. Campbell,
Yes.
can you give me a delineation of the local revenue and just tell me what it means and where it comes from?
Okay. The MAC program Duluth is where we do our Med EC is tied in with the EC program.
Okay.
The local governmental sales tax come from the county. This is where I was talking about we need to get more people in the stores and shop. They send us sales tax money. They don't tell us how much. The amount that I have budgeted here is a little bit of what we received last school year, and I didn't want to go over there. The ABC revenue comes in also from the county, and this year they increased that by $11,306 compared to last school year. The rental of property, I left that at $1,000 because at this current time, due to COVID, we're not really renting out our buildings. So if we were rent out our buildings, that would we'll receive revenue for that.
Okay.
The interest is for the bank account. We put that in Fund 8 versus putting it in our local current expense budget. Indirect costs come from federal programs and other programs that we can charge indirect costs. Miscellaneous revenue comes into effect. We currently have some contracts with DPI where we're receiving some miscellaneous revenue. Also, when we do our sales tax report, some of that money that the state sent us from the Department of Revenue goes into our miscellaneous revenue. Impact Aid comes from federal programs as well. It's tied into the, I can't think of the name of it now, where federal programs send out information to parents and they do a survey and submit it back, and the federal government sometimes they'll send us money through Impact Aid.
Okay. I had one question regarding those.
Okay,
See, that's alcohol beverage, right?
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and the indirect cost, so we don't get indirect costs from ESSER, Title I, none of
Yeah,
those.
that's federal programs, yes, that's all federal programs. The majority of all our federal programs, we can charge indirect costs as long as we don't go over the admin percentage that the state requires for those programs. I believe at this time, there's only one federal grant that I cannot get indirect costs, and it was one through the EC program. They would not allow us to charge indirect costs. But all our federal programs do pay indirect costs, yes.
So is that a current number or an accurate number of 70,000?
That is an estimate. That is an estimate. We could receive more of it, but it's based on the dollar amount that is spent. It's not the total budget. So if I don't spend all of the money in those programs this school year, let's use ESSER for an example. If I don't spend all the $5 million, I cannot charge indirect costs. I can only charge indirect costs for the period of time that money has spent. And I do the indirect costs on a quarterly basis.
Okay, well, we need to make sure that we spend all of the money that every year so we can get that indirect cost. Because it's also supposed to take care of housing, that grant, office area, telephone, heat, lights, and all of that as well, right?
Yes, ma'am. The state gives us a percentage that we can, and ours is this school year is a little over 5. It's 5.1 something percent for federal programs this school year.
Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure because Halifax Community College just lost $1 million grant, and we don't want to lose any of our federal funds.
I'm not gonna let a dime go back if I got anything to do with it.
Thank you. Just call me and I'll
And Officer, that's why we're going to try our best to follow what is allowed in those grants, and that's what takes us so long to get something that we're trying to follow so we can keep every dollar we get.
Well, I know the regs just like the back of my hand. I had to study them. That's what I did for 20 years. So just call me. I can spend every dime.
All right. Any other questions or comments concerning our local budget? All right.
Okay, we're moving on to the last one, which is current expense fund 2. And with current expense fund 2, our revenues would be $2,225,452.22. Our calendar appropriation for the 21-22 school year is $758,411. And it is a tad bit lower than what we received last school year. Our fines and fortunes is $12,753. And that too is lower than what we received last school year. So I guess they give it to us in one budget and they take it away from us in another budget. I am estimating our supplement tax to be $1,400,000. That is in line what we received last school year. And I'm requesting to use $54,288.22 of fund balance unless there are some changes as we go through the budget. And as you can see on the next page, you see all the PRCs that is embedded into this budget to come up to the $2,225,452.22. Mr. Britman. Our very first PRC that we're going to discuss is PRC 001. Ms. K. Robinson, this is where we have our early college staff embedded into, because we use all our state 001 money to help with balancing our restart budget.
Okay. I have a question about that charter school line item.
Okay, hang out to that one. We're coming to. Ma'am?
I said it was mighty large. It blew my mind.
Yes.
I think all of our blood is boiling a little bit on that one.
I was gonna speak up on that one.
My next budget is 003. This budget is covering substitute pay for our early college because our teachers are paid out of local budget. The substitutes have to come out of local as well, and it's covering our maintenance department.
Say that last part again, Ms. Campbell. So is what?
It's covering our maintenance department. I said if because our early college teacher comes out of this budget, their substitute has to come out of this budget as well.
Got it. Okay.
And all of maintenance comes out of that too, right?
Correct, yes. Our current maintenance staff, yes.
Gotcha, okay.
And this is 003, PRC 003.
Yes.
Okay.
Our next budget is PRC 005. This is our school building administration, and this is where we cover our principals' monthly supplement and differential pay. If you would notice here, this is one of the areas I made some adjustments. Last school year, I had all of my Restart schools in the Restart budget, but towards the end, I had to start moving people out of Restart to balance the budget out. So this year, I decided to put the principals into the current expense budget. And as we get to the end of the school year, and I see I got a surplus of Restart money, you best believe you're bottomed out. I'm gonna get my money back.
Okay.
The next budget is PRC 007. We're covering our school social worker here. I put her 100% into the current expense budget. And we also have to cover a portion of our school nurses grant because our grant that we have does not cover all of their salaries. The next one is PRC 009, is the non-contributing benefits. This is for staff members that's in this budget that is eligible for longevity. Also, if we have a staff member that is paid out of federal funds and they leave us during the year and they have annual leave days, we have to pay those days off and federal cannot pay it off. So I have to bill it into the local budget.
Ms. Campbell,
Yes.
with the annual leave days, you don't pay out all of it, do you?
Most time we put beginning teachers in there so they don't have a whole lot of days.
Okay.
Our next budget is PRC 034 AIG. State does not give us enough fund to cover the whole salary. So again, of course, we have to make up the difference in our local budget. I'm on page 7.
Just reading it.
Okay, here we go with charter schools. Yeah, we had that one. Last school year, we spent $344,197.46 to the charter schools. We have Ma'am?
What page are you on now?
I'm on page 7.
Okay.
We have 3 charter schools that invoices us for our students. The first thing I do before I pay any bills to the charter schools, I have transportation to verify that the kids' address is in our district. The second thing I do is I have our school resource officer go out and verify that the kids live at these addresses and they're not living with someone that does not have custody of them. And then I start paying the bill. We have one school that is in our district, and because that school is in our district, which is KIPP Halifax, they also get a portion of our supplemental taxes. KIPP Gaston Preparatory and Rocky Mount Preparatory is not in our district, so they only get a portion of our county appropriation and fines and forfeitures. I increased this budget of about 20% And the reason why I did it at 20%, because a lot of times we lose kids that's moving from 4th grade to 5th grade. Or if they got a sibling that's already over there and they're in kindergarten or in preschool and they're going to kindergarten, they're going over there with their sibling. So that is why that number is high at $413,000. Last year, our budget $345,000. So you can see how much of that I did use. Yes, Ms. K. Robinson.
Did I say something?
I saw you come off mute and I thought you were getting ready to say something. Because I knew you had a concern about the budget.
I was just getting it ready just in case.
Okay. But I did bring the numbers for you so you can know exactly where we were last school year. Last school year, KIPP Halifax billed me for 103 students. I paid for 92 students because the other students never verified my information. And if they don't verify it, I can't pay it. Gaston Preparatory invoiced me for 176 students. I paid for 156 students. Rocky Mount Preparatory, we have 5 kids there. As of today, I have not received any invoices from them yet for this school year. They have questioned to find out how much I'm going to pay them, but I can't give them that dollar amount till I find out how many of our kids are over there, because I have to add those kids to our kids to do the calculation.
Ms. Campbell.
Yes, sir.
Please repeat those numbers again. You said Rocky Mount Prep had 5 of our students.
Right.
And give me the other numbers.
Gaston Preparatory has 100, and they're billed me for 176.
I know that's not the amount you paid for.
No, I paid for 156.
Gotcha. And what was the other number?
The other number, they invoiced me for 103, but I paid for 92.
So basically what I just added up, that's 284 students that are part of our quote unquote number that could possibly attend our school. That's almost looking at the ADM that I think we are looking at now, if the state is right, about 660 students. I'm going to use a high number. This 284 students that we're missing, that equates to about 45% of our ADM that we currently have.
Correct.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of students. That's almost 300 students.
That's correct.
Can I ask a question now?
Yes, ma'am.
Go right ahead, Ms. K. Robinson. I thought that would generate a little question for you.
It did. So you have that contact information for those students then, right?
Yes, ma'am. I get their address. I get their date of birth. I get, there's a couple of things that I get in there. And like I said, I have Tim, because we have been billed for kids that lived in Rocky Mount. You know, I just nicely highlight that child and I send another spreadsheet to them and tell them they're not in our district.
Right.
I've been billed for kids that lived on, let's say, Thelma Road. I know for a fact that's Halifax County Schools.
Right.
Right.
I send them that information. So anybody that I know it's not in our district. 2, if I know that they're just at the grandparents' house for convenience because the parent works. Or 3, the resource officer went there and nobody was home or the house was vacant. I've had those incidents. I've had incidents where the resource went out and it was just a plain lot with no house on it.
Oh, Lord.
So I have the TIM person first verify if they're in our district, if I'm not sure about it. Because like you can go over to Becker Farms, if the parent's bedroom is a certain way, that's Running Rapids School District.
Right.
And that's what the parent would tell you. Oh, my bedroom this way, so that's how I go to Running Rapids City Schools.
That's how it's cut. You're right.
That's right.
And because the way the school district lines are marked, it's really, really hard to tell unless I get Tim's to verify that this is in our address. Because I won't call the county and ask them. I ask my Tim operator, verify these addresses to make sure that they are in Weldon City Schools.
Well, I think we need to get those addresses, and I think we need to utilize them for some other things and correspondence going out to the parents as well.
Now, I do send the early college, the high school, and all the schools last school year did request a copy of that roster, and I did send it out to them with the address. I take off the important information that they're not supposed to have. But I do make sure they get the addresses, and they do some recruiting that way as well.
If you could share that with us, though, that list, if you get a chance, I think the board would like to see it.
You want last year's list, right?
Oh, I don't know if it's the same cheering from last year to this year.
You may have some of them, yes.
Okay. Whatever you think would be most appropriate.
Okay, I can give you what I have now, and then as a new list come in, I can share that.
Thank you. Yes.
I can't believe you have kids going to Rock them out first.
But they from Enfield.
They live, and you right, and I argued that point too, Ms. K. Robinson, because I just couldn't believe that house was in my district. It's always past Smith Chapel Baptist, almost to Smith Chapel Baptist Church in Enfield.
Yes.
I rode that road to find that house myself, because I was like, that can't be true. That's not in our district. You passing old 125.
Yeah, that's our district.
And old 125, as you were saying, Ms. Campbell, it's just a little bit past there where our district stops, but it's not all the way down there. I mean, it stops before you get to those houses, way before you get to those houses.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, our next budget is PRC 056, which is transportation. And as you know, I always add some local funds into our local budget in an event that we end up using all of our state funds. The next budget is PRC 802, which is plant operations. This budget covers all the utilities in the school. It covers our property insurance, it covers our auto insurance, and our maintenance.
That property insurance line item of $43,580, does that cover all of our buildings, including the central office?
Yes, ma'am, that's what we paid last school year, yes.
Okay.
What page were you on, Ms. Campbell, with?
Page 9.
9, okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Got it.
Going to page 10. This is our board and superintendent. I did budget the board members' compensation in an event that does pass. I have it built into the budget. On to page 11. This is our general administration. This budget covered light bills and water bills here at the central office. We built into the budget for our SRO contract.
Ms. Campbell.
Yes, sir.
Real quick, with our SROs, break that down for me. I know we reimburse the sheriff's department their budget their salary, what benefits are entailed in that?
It's almost the same as ours, the Social Security, the retirement, workers' comp, hospitalization.
The medical insurance, is that included?
Yeah, that's a hospitalization. I think they also ran anything that they have, their general insurance that they pay for those workers, we have to pay it back.
So we reimburse the sheriff's department everything that a deputy basically would get in the county.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's only for 2, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have we already signed those contracts for this year?
No, ma'am. There was some changes that needed to be done, and they will hopefully be on the agenda for the 16th meeting. Attorney Malone is working with the county's attorney to get those taken care of, those changes addressed.
Okay. Okay.
Next, we have on page 12, we have the athletic budget. Reverend Sites, this is where I added in money for supplies for both high schools.
Okay. I'm looking at this, Ms. Campbell, and I've noticed our current budget for coaching supplement that there's been a $10,000 decrease.
And I got that information based on the coaches' contracts that Ms. Lewis gave me copies of, and that is how I came up with that amount.
Well, I'd much rather for us to have more there than what we need, as I said before, and I think we need to leave that 45,000 for this year. Because
Okay.
I know I haven't signed it. I'd much rather us to leave it where it is and not need it than for something to come up.
I made that correction.
Ms. Campbell, before we Reverend Sight signs that and we approve that, can we get a list of the salaries, please, or the salary range, the scale for the coaches? I'd like to see that. And I have a question regarding last year. Last year we didn't do any athletics. Did any money come out of that line item?
The only thing that came out was for the athletic director, because he was still attending all of the meetings, and I was directed by the previous administration to pay that payment.
Okay, so he was the only one receiving a salary last year.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And also, Ms. Campbell, I'm looking at this long number 5501-843-181-318. That was 14,375. I would ask that you would bring that over to rather than that 11,800.
Okay. And then I will also note, please note that I will have to increase the amount of fund balance once I make those corrections.
Sure, yes.
And I will share that at the board meeting if I'm presenting the budget that night, that not the change.
Okay, thank you.
Can we get those salaries prior to the board meeting so we can look at them prior to, if you don't mind?
Yes, ma'am. I have those because we also got a request from someone to look at the salary schedules of surrounding districts and what they were paying. And so we have that information as well.
Okay, thank you. I think that was me.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I believe the last budget, the last salary schedule that was done or activities took effect in the 17-18 school year.
Okay.
So, and there have been some questions about, the amounts that are in there. So one of the things that this, again, is more information that you asked for, Ms. Dameron and Ms. Campbell and I are going to take a look at the current schedule and as well as the surrounding schedules and take a look at that. And I'm not going to guarantee that you will have it at the next meeting to consider. But it is on our to-do list to get it to you soon. Hopefully no later than October, but we're going to try our best to get it next week. The 6th.
Okay. Thank you.
And Ms. Campbell, I know real quickly, the Social Security and retirement, all of that, it's going to adjust based upon, you know, whatever the salary would be. I'm just looking at what we did last school year. Wouldn't it be feasible to increase those a little bit? I don't know what they would need to be increased
We're about to increase that, and currently we're using a 24.37% rate for benefits based on what the governor is projecting, but we know that the House and Senate is lower.
Right, okay.
A little higher than what, so that way, if it is 24.37%, we're good, but if it's a little bit lower, we're even better.
All right, good enough. And my last question, the non-capitalized equipment, what is that?
There's nothing in that line.
I see it's nothing in it, but the year that we just came out of, there was something there.
There was something budget, but we did not spend it. In the past, they had used something in there, but we didn't spend anything in it last year. And this year, with what we did, like with the helmets, we're taking it out of capital outlay. It's not too regular that they do something that is non-capitalized equipment. The bulk of the things they do is like supplies and materials.
Okay. I guess this is another one of those things. I'd much rather we have something just in case. If we don't need it, of course, you know, we don't use it. I would suggest the other year they did 1,700, but listening to what you say, I think we probably would be safe if we put 1,200 there.
Okay.
Reverend Sykes.
Yes, sir.
With those coaching supplements, I just want the board to keep in mind that really the top paid coaches aren't with the system anymore. You had Coach Johnson that was near the top, Coach Grady was near the top. Coach Johnson was there as athletic director and basketball coach. You had Coach Odom. They are no longer here. So you look at the people that's taking their place, they pretty much starting out according to the scale, near the beginning of the scale, when they was on those people that I call, and maybe some others, Coach Hargrove, they at the upper edge of that totem pole in terms of pay. So I just want to throw that out there. That's why I think the 21-22 budget is greatly reduced from what the current budget was. If you follow me.
Yes, sir. I follow you.
Okay.
Very clear what you said, Mr. Williams. And the only reason why I'm suggesting that we move those totals over, if we don't spend it, we're not going to spend it. But I heard Dr. Myrick say that he and Ms. Dameron and Ms. Campbell were going to look at neighboring districts just to see if we were, I guess, kind of, you know, in the same ballpark. And I was just saying, if we go ahead on and appropriate the numbers, if they make a recommendation for any changes, it'll already be there, and that'll be an amendment that we possibly won't have to make with the budget. That was my concern. We will have taken care of it now rather than having to come back and address it later. That's just in case they bring us a recommendation, you know, of something different. That was my only observation with that. All right, we ready to keep going, Ms. Campbell.
Okay, page 13 is accountability, budgeting the same amount that we had budgeted last school year of $4,000 in an event that our data managers will be able to attend their training this school year. Page number 14 is finance officer. We're budgeting $4,399. That has been increased a little bit from last school year because we only had $800 budget for workshop last school year, but hopefully our department, Ms. Boyd and Ms. Powell will be able to attend training this school year.
Ms. Campbell.
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious. I mean, in as much as you all didn't go last year, do you think that's enough?
Well, mine's come out of general administration, theirs come out of 845.
I guess I still have the same concern, you know, but I'm trusting and hoping that things will be to the point, you know, where you all can actually do it in person. And I'm just wondering if that's enough.
Well, the biggest one that we have that costs the most is when we go to our conference in February. The other one sometimes is like a one-day session. But the biggest one that we have is in February, and I think that will be enough to cover them for February.
Okay.
Yes,
all
sir.
right.
Thank you.
Ms. Campbell, will this include cross-training as well? 'Cause I think that's a request we had made that there'll be some cross-training going on within the department.
We are working on that currently. I have been working with that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And this is inclusive, you say, or it's not? That would come from a different line item when that would actually occur.
If we have to have somebody come in to do some additional training, it will come from somewhere else.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
But as of right now, things that we're doing, we're making notations and creating what we call a Bible for everything that we do.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
All right.
The next budget is for staff servicing for personnel. There is an increase in our contracted services for we want to do some additional things when it comes to our background checks. And this workshop expense is just for the administrative assistants. The HR directors comes out of general administration.
Okay.
And the final budget is PRC 848, which is graduation. That was increased just a tad bit with some of the different things that have been going on. We increased that to about $1,000. The bulk of their expenses come from the senior dues. So the senior dues cover a lot of their things in reference to graduation. We just make sure that the speaker is covered, the programs are printed, the diplomas are printed, and they have their decorations.
So all of that you just said will come out of this line item.
Yes, ma'am. And it's broken down by school.
Speaker, decorations, diplomas,
Programs.
Does that include the photographer as well?
No.
Okay, and decorations.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Campbell.
Yes, sir.
I may have missed this. I'm looking now. This may have been in the local budget because I don't actually see it here. I think we need to look at what we did last year in December, Christmas bonuses for our employees. Is that appropriated in any spot here? I know, you know, we looked at it last year and we did it in I think it was October, November, we made the decision to do it. And then it was done in December, the 1st of December last year. But would that have been in our current, our local budget, or in what we're looking at now?
We did pay it out of the local budget last school year. I had built it in with and without. And after having conversation with Dr. Merritt and Mrs. Austin, we're gonna pull that out of ESSER funds, but we're waiting to have some discussion on a dollar amount. And then with things happening with Mrs. Austin, we had to kind of back off on until she returns. And then the three of us is gonna discuss on a dollar amount to bring to the board for approval.
Okay, so that's forthcoming and
Yes, sir.
out there in the next, but maybe about October anyway.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Mhm.
All right.
Chair Sykes, if I could ask the question
Yes.
from Ms. Campbell. Ms. Campbell, if you go back to the personnel budget, and I just want to review or ask the question. As we look at providing some different procedures and processes, I'm trying to work with the state to see what programs they will and services they will offer. You and I both know that if the modernization comes through, a lot of the things that we think need to happen in our district office will be a part of that. But if we are not one of those, there may be a few things that I would like to recommend happen to make the HR department run a little bit more efficient. Would that be in this budget or would that be in another budget?
If you're looking at possibly maybe software or something like that, we can pull that from capital outlay funds.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Reverend Sykes, that concludes my report. I will go in and make the necessary adjustments to my current expense budget, my capital outlay budget, as requested by the board, and have those recommendations ready with my final budget at the September board meeting. And I will highlight those changes in the board meeting.
All right. Board members, are there any additional questions?
Reverend Sykes, I have a question regarding procedure.
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead, Ms. Kay Robinson.
Ms. Campbell, what type of procedures do we use once this budget is approved? Does that mean that you can go on and cut checks for any type of request that's made that falls within the budget allotted amount? Or will, suppose technology wants to come in and purchase brand new computers for the entire district? I know we just did that a couple of years ago, but I'm using it as an example. What would take place if he brought you in your 3 quotes and he wanted to purchase computers for all faculty, for all staff, teachers and employees?
If he has his 3 quotes in process, he submitted his requisition. If the quote is over $10,000, the quote will be held until such time our board meets, because our superintendent's threshold for approval is $10,000, and that is including shipping and sales tax. Though that particular requisition would come before the board for approval. Once the board approve it, then we process it as long as there is money in the line to cover that expense.
Okay. So we do that with everything that is purchased?
Anything, our procedures is if it's an item under $200, it can be purchased without a requisition. Anything over $200, you must submit a requisition. And I love requisitions, and the reason why I love requisition because we get sales tax money back from the state when we use requisitions.
Okay.
So we do have a purchasing procedure that is in place. I know it needs to be updated. I do go up and update like the the rates when it comes to benefits once they are approved, but we do have a purchasing procedure in place. I do need to share that with our new principal, so we do have something in place that everybody's supposed to follow.
Okay. So do you also have that for the board? When we make requests, I know right now I want to attend those workshops and I just sent an email to you and Dr. Meyer. So is it a certain form I should have made my request on, or did I follow the procedure correctly? I don't know the procedure.
Well, normally what has happened in the past with board members, our previous administrative assistant, when there are workshops, she would list all the workshops and the board would check them off. But when there were other requests from the board, they would let her know and then we processed it. No process has really been in place when it came to the board as far as how we're gonna do it. The previous administrative assistant, so like if it was the fall conference, the district conference, the state conference, or the one that's in June, she would have all of those listed on a sheet, and she would have all board members on those sheets, and they would check those to find out and say if they want to go. Otherwise, if there was something that a board member wanted to attend, they would reach out to the superintendent and say that they was interested in attending that. I've been working with Ms. Lee this week to try to get her set up with the School Board Association so that they can forward her all that information. So the process, what you did was fine. We didn't have a problem. Am I correct, Dr. Madden? Before I speak for him, we didn't have a problem doing that at all.
Okay. We just in June, I think we had some questions regarding the computer software purchases. Did that come before us? Because it was more than $10,000.
The computer software, the bulk of that was where we renewed our financial software. The contract was approved in June. I presented that to the board for a 3-year plan. The bulk of that $31,000 came from that. That renewal is $27,000 a year. And he did have more buying power. The board approved him to have a $50,000 authority.
Okay. Thank you for that information.
You're welcome.
Ms. Campbell, can you repeat what you just said about the board?
The board gave the previous interim superintendent authority, purchasing authority up to $50,000. And I had to pull that in the minutes to prove it to the auditors when they was here last month in reference to that. I can pull it again, the date that it was approved. But he had the purchasing power up to $50,000 before bringing it to the board for approval.
Okay, because I didn't realize that. Okay. That was before my time.
All right, any other questions?
COVID-19, Ms. Campbell, can we get a itemized list of how we've spent COVID-19 funds? I think we had 2 or 3 different funds, and how we've spent it up to date and what we have left to spend.
Are you referring to ESSER funds?
No.
The CARES fund?
Yes.
Okay.
And I would like to see the ESSER funds written out in the budget too, I think. I think Ms. Austin had given us ESSER. I'm not sure.
Okay.
There may be a few other things we need to purchase through COVID that we've had parents talk about, such as the dividers in the classroom between the students, so that, if they sneeze, it'll be a guard, a protection guard for coughing and sneezing.
Okay,
That's why I was asking for all COVID spent and what's left.
okay.
And Ms. Campbell, and Dr. Myrick, and I think you said, Ms. Dameron, that you all were going to get together as far as the proposed Christmas bonuses for our staff as we did last year. Did I hear you correct on that?
Yes, Ms. Austin and Dr. Myrick and myself, because
okay, I apologize. Okay, I thought you said Ms. Dameron. Excuse me for that. I do just want to jog you all's memory real quick. We did give our employees $500 each, part-time and full-time. And I hope when you all go through your deliberation that you all will remember that.
Yes, sir. I share that information with Dr. Myrick.
Yes, sir, absolutely. We already have some numbers and we looked at that, but we wanted to look at the ESSER funds as well to get that. So I think we can do that, at least do that.
I would certainly hope that we would at least do that for our employees. Now, if y'all find some cushion in there to do a little more, you all please now, just we want to look out for our employees.
Absolutely. Mr. Chair, if I may, Ms. Robinson, how soon are you, would you like that information, because on the CARES funding, because I think that's going to take her a little while to pull all of that information together. So can we get that to you by the board meeting?
That'll be fine.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question, Dr. Myrick. I think I made a request, a re-request. I requested in January of 2021 when Mr. Wooten was in place in HR. And I hope Ms. Dameron, with her expertise, can assist us in receiving a completed report on all employees that includes their title, their educational background, their years of service, and their salary, and I think it was level of education.
Yes, ma'am. In fact, she and Ms. Lewis have been working on that information, and I was going to talk to the chair actually, but now that you brought it up, I was going to ask the chair if that would be something that we could bring to a closed session meeting, because it does have the names of individuals beside it. Or would you like to have just maybe some small group sessions where Ms. Dameron can sit down with you one-on-one and go over that information with you?
I think both will be fine. One-on-one is good, but I think we need to have that discussion briefly in a closed session meeting as well, simply because you know how it is. We get the time to process information, and then we have other questions that may come to our mind. So I think both would be appropriate.
Okay, would you like to do it for the 16th meeting or a special meeting just to discuss personnel?
I leave that at the discretion of the board. If they want to do something specifically, along those lines, I don't see why we couldn't have, a special meeting for that, because I know it's going to take longer than the time that we normally have appropriated for closed session.
During our retreat.
That'd be great.
I don't think we can do that during the retreat, and unless we have a special closed session period within, either at some time during the retreat that we will be talking about.
Right. So since we're going to be together for that amount of time, is that something that we can add to it? As long as we're staying within that time frame
in addition to, I mean, because of course I know we're gonna have speakers, but typically we have some time where we can work on some things and not just do speakers all day.
I have no problem with that. But if we're going to do that, if we're planning to do that, we have ample time to decide on that. But with the time that we have already appropriated as far as our retreat is concerned, we've already kind of built a schedule of things that we're planning to do. And again, I have no problem with it. But if we are going to amend the proposed schedule that we're looking at, you know, that's something that we would need to decide, because we would actually be shortening the time for a speaker and you know, just to give us some training or, you know, sharpening our tools as a board. If we're going to decide to do that, again, I have no problem with that, but I would really like to know tonight, because one of the proposed speakers I'm going to be talking to on Tuesday, myself and Dr. Myrick. So certainly want to, if we need to amend our schedule, let's decide to do that tonight. Is that the consent of everybody? Can you all hear me? So do you all?
I didn't think we were having a speaker. I thought that was going to be a moderator that kind of guided us through the retreat. I didn't realize it was an actual speaker.
A facilitator.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying speaker, but that's what I should have said, a facilitator or someone to moderate what we do.
And also to just to think about that, I'm fine with the moderator, speaker, whatever way we want to call it. But at the same time, I feel that as a part of our retreat, it's a time for us to actually get together and do some work too. That's just my thought and the things that I feel like we need to do as a board, because I know that there are some things that we will need to probably talk about that. I guess my concern is us looking at possibly personnel things for that day, but
I'm fine either way, fellow board members. I have our retreat day on my calendar. So if we want to make some adjustments, let's just say it.
Could we possibly use the first hour of our retreat time and then have the moderator facilitator come in at 10?
I'm fine with it. It's whatever the majority will say. Mr. Williams, Ms. Hale, Mrs. Jenkins, Mrs. Harrison, you all have any input?
I agree with Ms. K. Robinson.
I agree with Ms. Bird Robinson and Ms. K. Robinson as well.
All right, so we'll plan to do that. That seems the majority. Mrs. Harrison, Mrs. Jenkins, you all right with that?
I'm okay with it, Chairman.
All right. So we'll look to make that adjustment then, Dr. Myrick, and that gives us a little, I guess, a little different approach to what we may be looking at as far as the retreat.
Yes, sir. And we could, we'll just make sure that we mention that when we meet on Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
I'll add that to the list of that I got already.
Got it. Okay. Board members, let me ask something of us tonight. We have not noticed our proposed meeting, or our meeting rather, for I think the 16th of September. And I'm just throwing this out. I just wanted to share it with you. I have a schedule conflict, And of course, I'm just one person, but I wanted to share it with everybody tonight. And Dr. Myrick has made me aware of some possible personnel recommendations. And I'm just throwing this out there to ask, would you as the board, would you all be against changing our board meeting to maybe the 13th of September rather than the 16th? And I've talked with Mrs. Bird Robinson, and she may have a possible conflict on that day to chair the meeting in my absence as well. And I just wanted to see if that would be an option. I mean, and if not, if everybody's good with the 16th besides me, that's fine. If Miss Bird Robinson can actually go through with it. And I only brought that to us tonight because Dr. Myrick did share some recommendations that he wanted to make. And if we could do it earlier, I think it would be better. And hearing what I forgot the Senate bill that Governor Cooper signed, when it was the 30th of August or 31st of August, that boards would have to decide on the policies that they made as far as entering back into school. We needed to make that as close to the first of the month as we possibly could, my understanding of what he said that school districts had to do each month. So you all can let me know how you feel about that.
That's Senate Bill 654.
Yes.
That's it, 654.
Can it be changed to the 23rd?
I'm good the 13th or the 23rd. I just know.
I'm just saying.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying because on the if you move it up to the 13th, you're already requesting some things from different people who said they could have it ready by the 16th, and that's moving it up 4 days. I mean, 4 days not a lot, but it's a big difference when you got to pull information together and get it to the board. So rather than move it up, I would say move it back to the 23rd and stay with Thursday.
Either way is fine with me. I just,
that's my recommendation.
Gotcha. And y'all please forgive me, but you know, I was trying to make sure that our vice chair and she made me aware of a conflict that she would have as well. And so it was kind of iffy if she would be able to make the 16th meeting. I didn't want to wait late. Normally our meeting falls the Thursday after the third Sunday, and because of the way the month came in, I was off for the month of September. That's normally a busy month for me. And I can agree with that, Mr. Williams. I mean, if we can push it back a week, I don't see no problem with that if the majority of the board will be available.
I have a question about our personnel needs, though. Are they things that need to be taken care of sooner than later?
Mr. Chair, if I may, there is one personnel for sure that if we waited to the 23rd, I would ask you to make some concession for at least one position, personnel position. And I don't know how that process would work, but if we could get at least that one, because it's sort of time sensitive.
Right. And that was another reason why I was suggesting the 13th, because Dr. Myrick did share that with me, and without saying anything, if we could do it on the 13th, it would be good for that. And if we put the other information that we were looking at, if we gave them a little more time and got it to us later on in the month, rather than be pushing for the 13th, the information that we have requested to give them more time to get that to us, but not by the board meeting. But either way you want to do it, I'm good the 13th and I'm good the 23rd.
Is Ms. Bird Robinson available on the 16th?
That's questionable, Ms. Hale. Right now, I do have a conflict. So I would say right now, it's probably not. The 13th is also not good for me, but we can go ahead and move forward with that because I don't want to continue to, I don't want us to put it back any further. So whatever
Well,
date.
are you good? Are you good? Are you good with the 23rd, Ms. Bird Robinson?
The 23rd, I don't have any conflicts that day.
Okay, well, I would say let's go with the 23rd then.
So how do we handle
Is
what?
everybody up?
How do we handle what Dr. Mike said he needed to some personnel stuff?
I recommend
Let
that
me
you probably
talk with,
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, let me contact Attorney Malone tomorrow and get with Dr. Myrick and we can work it out. And if we need to have something just for a personnel recommendation, that one recommendation, I think that's probably something that we could easily do by Zoom, like we're doing tonight, have our closed session and take care of that to expedite that. But it would be for that one thing only, if we could do that. But let me talk with Attorney Malone and just see how we would work that. Can we do that, Dr. Myrick? Can we do that?
Saying something. Miss Dameron was saying something.
That was going to be my recommendation.
Okay.
I know that the board could be polled. You could be polled for an approval for that, but yes, that was going to be my recommendation. They called Mr. Malone. I would also ask that if by any chance we had some teaching positions that we would fill between now and then, that they could begin pending the next board meeting so that we wouldn't hold people out from getting in a classroom if need be.
I can support that if the rest of the board could consent to that, and we can, get it exactly how we need to receive it from our attorney to make sure that we are within doing things legally, I guess to say it for lack of better words, if we could do that.
And also to make sure that we're following, making sure that we're getting all the background information and all that prior to.
Yes,
I have already talked to Dr. Myrick about that. That process is going to change. It will be done up front.
I appreciate it.
So, Mr. Chair, back to your question, yes, I with that. Just let me know if you need me to make the call, or you call and just call me tomorrow. You make me very happy right now.
We're gonna try our best. I'll reach out to Attorney Malone, and hopefully we can do a three-way call before close of business tomorrow.
Sounds good to me.
Ms. Dameron, you wanted me to. I know it probably wouldn't be appropriate to some, but you wanted me to say amen when you said the process was gonna change.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you all so much. But we're going to work on that. So is everybody good with the 23rd, having our board meeting on the 23rd, and we try to have some type of closed session meeting per our lawyer giving us legal guidance? Is everybody okay with that?
Chairman Sykes,
Yeah.
I wanted to know, when are we going to discuss because you mentioned it, the bills that Governor Cooper signed into law earlier this week on Monday? Because we're steadily going, the kids are steadily going to school and the Delta variant is still out there. And I'm sure that more cases will be popping up between now and then. So when are we going to discuss that? We're going to wait to the end of the month to discuss it? Or, I think we need to discuss it sooner than later.
I totally agree with you, Ms. Hale, since that particular bill was signed. We can either do that on the 23rd. If everybody's all right with our board meeting being on the 23rd, we can put that on the agenda to discuss then. That could also be a possible topic of discussion during our retreat, getting us ready before the month of October comes in as well. So either way that you think would be beneficial, Ms. Hale, I think we could proceed either way.
Personally think it need to be done before the retreat and or our 26th board meeting, if Attorney Malone is able to attend.
Okay, so you want me to ask him about that as well?
I do.
Okay.
I agree.
Yes, I will. That'll be part of the conversation tomorrow as well, and we will respond in short order to the entire board.
And also, please ask Attorney Malone about that vote that we must now take monthly, if it needs to be done for the incoming month or outgoing month, because right now I think we're almost a month behind if we wait till the 23rd to do it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We will do that as well. And excuse me,
Ms. Robinson, based on what we saw in the bill, it went into effect August the 30th. So I believe that's moving forward.
Okay. Okay.
We vote again in this month that's coming up in order to be in compliance. That, at least that's the way that I've interpreted it. But
you're looking at talking about September?
Yes, ma'am. But that is a question that Ms. Deborah and I had for the attorney.
Okay. Thank you.
And board members, is everybody good now with the 23rd? We good with that day? Ms. Harrison, Ms. Jenkins?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Ms. Jenkins, you good with that? All right. And the rest of the board is all right. Ms. Hale, Ms. K. Robinson, and Mr.
Yeah.
Williams, everybody still good with that?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. And did I miss anybody? Ms. Bird Robinson, I think you said you were good with that, correct?
She's not up there.
Okay, all right. I think she said she was good. So we're going to have our monthly meeting on September the 23rd, and we'll do everything as normal, 5:30 and 6:30. And that gives everybody a little more time as far as the information that we were asking for. That gives everybody another week. So we hope that will greatly assist.
And the information the issues that I was discussing, are we looking at having those issues discussed prior to the 23rd? I just want to be clear.
I'm going to ask the attorney. I will ask Ms. Hale. I can't promise you right now because I don't know. After we talk to him, we'll see how we can move forward.
Okay.
To make sure we have the correct understanding and everybody's reading the new bill that Governor Cooper signed, that we make sure we're interpreting that right. If we need to do something prior to, of course, I'll be reaching out to the board to see if we can come together to do that if we have to do that. But if not, I would hope the 23rd would suffice. But I'm going to ask the question as you asked, Ms. Hale. I'm going to ask the question.
Okay, and you also need to check with him for the 23rd to see if he's available as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm thinking he would be available the 23rd. I mean, he told me ordinarily the days that he is available if we had to switch meeting days. I think the first Tuesday, the third Tuesday, and fourth Tuesday, and he said Thursdays were good for him. So hopefully this will work out as well.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all so very, very much. Do we have any other questions about the budget tonight? And board members, thank you all so much for us making that adjustment as far as our monthly board meeting. We have any other questions or comments? All right. A motion would be in order to adjourn our work session for tonight.
Make a motion to adjourn the work session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much. It was motioned by Ms. Tiffany Hale, and seconded by Mrs. Donna Harrison, that we adjourn our work session for tonight. You've heard that motion. Is there any further discussion or unreadiness? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion, would you let it be known by your voice vote? O.D. Sykes, aye. Ms. Harrison?
Yes.
Mrs. Jenkins? Ms. K. Robinson?
Aye.
Ms. Hale?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
And Mrs. Bird Robinson, did she come back?
No.
All right, let the record reflect. Are you there? Okay, let the record reflect unanimous approval to adjourn. Thank you all so much for your time, your energy, and your patience this evening, and hope everyone has a wonderful